Hello, LinkBot students, and welcome. Today we are going over computer science and the word code. When you see this word code, what does it make you think of? Well, actually code makes it so you could see this box. It makes this white outline here, and it does this by communicating with the computer through ones and zeros. Another thing that code does is your emotes. So this whole entire thing is made out of pixels. This white pixel here is from code. This yellow pixel here is from code. When you put them together, you get something more recognizable. So code does all of that through communicating with the computer. So in LinkBots, we're going to be using our code to move or have our LinkBot robot do stuff. So why do we need code in the competition? Well, we want to be able to, we can't touch the robot. That's a requirement. So we want to be able to have it move on its own. We can code it. If you've ever turned the black motors on the LinkBots, you'd find that you can't rotate it that fast, but with code you can. Also displaying results, like the robot moving or something printing out, and that does give you points. Also easier calculations. If I ask you to take the square root of 79 right now, who can get it in 3 seconds? Maybe you could, but would you be able to get the root of a random number that you don't know that number? Well, you couldn't because you don't know that number. But with code, all of that's possible. That random number is known as a variable, and plug that in the square root function. So we're going to be using two main programs as a student. The LinkBot Labs is to talk to the robot, and the CHIDE is to code the robot and command it. So if you were in LinkBot Labs, you have to connect the robot from the robot to the computer. Now that it's already connected, you can go ahead and code it and have it move around or beep and other stuff like that. So when I had you guys go through Scratch, you guys remember this green flag click? Hopefully you do. But basically whenever you click this, everything underneath would run. So the equivalent of the green flag in CHIDE is the run button. When you click this run button, everything under it will, like everything inside this, runs. So the run button is like the green flag, and everything underneath is like all of this stuff. If you go to the library and you want information, typically you don't just walk in and walk out. You want to get a book out of it, like read information. So the library in code in LinkBots is #include linkbot.h. So that is the library, and this, the lines of code, are like your books. So what I'm trying to say is, you can't get this information, like you can't find this book if you didn't go to the library. So you got to include the library in your code, which is this part. But without the information in the book, what's the point of even including this? Like you have it, cool, but now there's nothing to use. So you can use it to do like radius, the variable, things like having it drive. And these things this information would not be found and cannot be used if you didn't include the library. The file extension .ch, it's a header file. And maybe you've heard of .jpg, maybe .pdf, png, mp4. Yeah, so .ch is very similar. You kind of put it at the end of the file, and it makes it the type of file that you can code in CH. So this statement connects the variable robot to LinkBot that has previously been connected to LinkBot Labs. This is the line of code that you would use after you connect it to LinkBot Labs and you want it on your CHIDE. So this is LinkBot Labs. If you haven't experimented it with yet, you can ignore this bottom part, but as you can see, after I connected M4NS by typing in the LinkBot ID here, I could click this arrow and then this would pop up, and like I can move it around, pressing the stop sign, clicking move. There's more underneath that I cut out. And you can rotate one of the wheels, the right wheel, speed. Yeah, this is for connecting the LinkBot to the computer. And you're gonna use the code, like the CHIDE. So grouping. Grouping. So you know that one line of code does one thing at a time. You wanna move, you move one robot. Well, how do I make it so like I have two robots moving at the same time? Like let's say I want one to move straight, the other one to move straight, but both to move at the same exact time. Like I don't want them to run only after the other one, or turn right and the other one turns left. Well, you could actually do that using groups. I will go over this in Unit 4. Groups make it so that you can put a lot of stuff and then into this function, and then you can run that function in one line of code, and that makes it so all those things are possible. So these are a list of functions. You definitely don't need to memorize all of them. Maybe you're familiar with a couple, like printf, scanf, or all of these ones, move functions. Yeah, so these are our libraries, some math functions, some miscellaneous. There's obviously way more than this, and you can find a lot of them in the book. Like this is square root, and that's hypotenuse. What do you put inside of this thing? It's printf. Don't you usually put like a quotation, your word, and then a semicolon? So what those are called are parameters. Parameters determine how far, for how long, what to print, what color. Like in printf, this is a parameter. What do you want to print? In drive distance, you're actually putting two parameters. You're putting the amount you want to drive and then the radius. So sometimes that first one had a parameter of 1. Sometimes they have 2 parameters. Sometimes they have 3, maybe even more. Sometimes they have 0. Like you guys probably haven't seen this, but get battery voltage, you don't really need anything inside. This is a complete function. You can run it like this. So some parameters are required and some parameters are optional. So like this, we have 2 that are required and a third one that is optional. So you can have A, B, or you can have A, B, and C. And they both work without errors. In drive distance, there's 2. There's no optional one, always 2. The second one is the radius, like a 1.75 on a blue wheel. The reason why that one doesn't really need to change is because you're plugging that in, and then your code is doing the rest. Let's say you say move 5, so then the 5, 1.75. So your code does the rest, and if you put a radius of like 10, it's not going to move 5. If you have radius of 1.75, it's probably going to move a lot further. So you got to make sure you put in the right radius, and then the distance is up to you. So yeah, there's some parameters up to you, some that should be correct, and then some that are optional. Now our last thing I want to talk about is what is computer science. Well, computer science is a major in college, something that I'm actually going for. And it can be used to communicate with robots, like this right here. And you can use your code to talk to robots. Everything with computers and phones, and it is part of STEM. LinkBots falls under the C-STEM category. But yeah, it's a lot of technology. It's basically using code in applicable ways. Yep, so that's all I got. Thanks for watching.